Hey everybody, this is Brad Dyke reaching out to you to say hi. This is my software and logic session. It's basically me talking about things that which are not related to the nature of hardware, but is related to the nature of how you get the disciplines, what are the architectures, and so on. So the last time I talked to about the fact is don't go in learning stuff and at the same point in time deploying stuff in an operational format. I told you to learn the basics, get the nature of how they function in one session. Kind of understand it, repeat it at least 3 times so that you've got it in your belt and that you're solid, right? Now, with that being said, the next thing you need to do is you need to turn around and you need to make sure the function is feasible. When we deal with hardware technology, we understand that we've got a purpose. So when you begin to understand how to use Jenkins, GitHub, and repositories and operations, and you can start doing virtual private connection interfaces through your Proxmox or whatever platform you choose to do. The key detail is that when you're doing this, you're learning the core functionalities. So whenever you go into a new job, I don't care who you are, I don't care where you are in the industry, the uniquenesses of companies these days are so unique that every single time you transition from job to job to job, it's like you have to start over. You have to take the time and learn how the particular blueprints of your company that you work with happens. Do yourself a favor. Take the time. Operations is about consistency, due diligence, and thorough planning. Thorough, as in time consuming planning. It needs to happen. Yes, you're under a clock, but effectively, the better you learn how to do this by taking the time to learn the processes means that you'll be actually able to start operations. Now I'm going to talk about operations. I just want to bring this critical process up front first to make sure you don't make the mistake of trying to learn something and then try to do your operations. Don't do that. Operations. Operations is the foundation of DevOps. Why? Well, basically, in a nutshell, it's because of the fact that when you're working with an environment, you are requiring specific tasks to happen. For instance, you need to create resources. You need to then manage the CPU, memory, storage, and infrastructure resources. You need to be able to then secure those resources. Then you need to effectively use procedures and templated guidelines to make sure you're getting the maximum effect for the least amount of resources you have in the equation. Then, and that's only one half of the equation, the other half is sustainment and recovery. Sustainment means that you bring in the processes of logging, tracking, real-time response, and procedures designed specifically to deal with outages, performance impacts to help you be proactive versus reactive, and of course, your core backup processes, which allow you to recover, scale up, adjust, or transition V2V as necessary. This is operations in a nutshell, and you have to do it well. The best and most optimal form of operations is a 3-core shift process: morning to noon, from noon into the evening, and from the evening into the early morning. 3 functional shifts per day, basically consisting of roughly 6 operational personnel. They each do a component of a 24-hour window. They rinse and repeat, and then they also may do rotations to help offload some of the potential monotony that may occur. 4 is usually the average. Now, the reason why 4 operations admins are in the equation to meet those core features I just talked about operations is because the DevOps team. The DevOps team is the CI/CD process, which is continual integration and continual development. I also like to put the second D on the end saying deployment, which is also very important. It would be easier for me to say CI/CD PD, which means continuous integration, continuous development, planned deployments. And that's a better approach because it's what we really do. Now, the beauty of DevOps is the discipline. DevOps is about taking the process that takes you from today's current statuses and transition you to the next level of software code, security, or other required implementations with as minimal impact as possible in a contiguous and continuous process. In other words, uninterrupted, invisible as much as possible, and as limited to the customer as you can make it. That's DevOps. So the beauty of that is if you have 4 DevOps engineers and 4 operations engineers, you can apply what we call the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule means that basically in a nutshell, operations does 80% operations and 20% support for DevOps. And on the DevOps side, they do 80% of DevOps and 20% of operations side. This allows you to create what's called an in-medium balance of human resources. In other words, you can actually shave 2 bodies off of the equation, because in the old days it was 6 and 6. Now it's only 4 and 4. So instead of 12 people required for IT staffing, I only need 8 now. I'm saving money. We're also being more efficient, which allows us to implement what we call optimization. Optimization is not accomplished by GitHub. Don't be misled. It's not accomplished by the repositories. It's not accomplished by SSM and if you're an AWS platform, and it's not accomplished by other functions like this. The key thing about DevOps is, first, DevOps brings in a discipline. I keep saying that over and over. You notice that? And when I keep saying that over and over, I'm also saying something else. I'm saying that once you know your processes, then you're allowed to do the next thing. But it's the only thing you can truly do. And that is to optimize how your processes work. That's the process of Jenkins, GitHub, and any other variation tools that which you're using to accomplish these steps and streamline them into a 1, 2, 3 process. And at that point stage, now we can go forward because we've efficiently got this down as tight as we can and start to automate. None of these tools do automation, but Ansible and Terraform and platforms like these 2 platforms do that. Ansible is designed specifically for automation processes for application level systems. So if you're a software shop, you want to go with Ansible. If you have infrastructure, then you want to go with Terraform. And if you are a true enterprise environment, you're going to end up doing both, just as a heads up, to some degree, unless you can source out free software that kind of supports that function. Be careful though. This is a process. You really want to have an established set of tools that are fully vetted, fully supported, and they're there for you. Now, that's not something that open source code software can do for you, always. If you're doing that, get back way over on the far end in development and just start to learn how it would work and get really good at how to use it first before you bring it to operations, and then from operations into DevOps, and to optimize it efficiently, and then get you into an automated process where it could act as your automated system. This is how it works. Oh, and by the way, rinse and repeat several hundred times a year when you get good at this. So with that being said, how do you evolve into automation for Ansible, or how do you evolve into automation with Terraform? Those will be videos down the road. And the last one, of course, between those two is how to use them both carefully, cautiously, without sending a lot of added complications into your equations. So with that being said, I'm talking about the mental structure of your brain to learn the skill sets, then to set operational disciplines into effect, then set your mindset of CI/CD and i.e. DevOps into that discipline, which will allow you to streamline what you've got and eventually get you to the place of automation. These are the key details that you want to accomplish going forward. So with that being said, this is all I'm going to say for tonight. Some great resources I would recommend you to look is to go with the first baseline DevOps-based tools such as GitHub, Jenkins, and so on and so on. You'll find that the forms change quite constantly. So with that being said, I recommend that you will go to the web link that I provide in this video for the top core functional components of DevOps. keeping Ansible and Terraform out of the equation, these will give you what today's standard guidelines are. And yes, unfortunately, from week to week, sometimes they tend to outpace each other in the process, which is good. That's how you get to become better. Well, this is Brad Dyke. I'm going to let you go, guys. I hope you have a great weekend, and God bless. Take care.